Yeah. Now, will you be running boats this time of year? Or are you kind of like you're
If there's something to
cleaned up?
move, I'll do it. I mean, it's slow, but I mean, last year we moved 36 Judge from Jersey
Hmm.
to Connecticut. February, I was down in Miami for a bit for the Miami Boat Show, so that was
Yep.
kind of nice. That was a nice break, 10 days down
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So, and then March started deliveries until the pandemic happened.
Yeah. Right. So now, what were you doing down in Miami during the boat show?
I ran some of the sea trials for Jupiter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we stayed. We did a photo shoot with their new 41.
Yep.
So it was a good couple days.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you say, because I'm always curious, like guys that work for companies like Viking, Jupiter, all these big boat manufacturers, is that like a contract agreement that you guys set, or is it just looking for a guy to run the boat during the boat show type deal?
Yeah, I actually got it through one of my buddies. Just he said, "Hey, these guys Jupiter looking for a sea trial captain," and I actually
Hmm.
worked for them for the Lauderdale show last year too. I went down there for some of my own business, wrote the Capt App business,
Hmm.
and they had a photo shoot for the whole entire line of boats, and they needed someone to run some boats. So I stuck around for 5 days, ran some boats with them. It was great, built a relationship, and then
Yeah,
Miami, they brought me back down to do the sea trials during the show.
yeah. Nothing wrong with sticking around in Miami for an extra 5 days and
it,
playing
wa-
on
it was
multi-million-dollar boats.
it was not bad, man. I can't complain. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Now, how did you kind of, I mean, get into this whole thing? Because I know everyone has their own little backstory as to how they got into it. I mean, I've always grown up on the water since I was 12, so working in the industry. So, how did you get into the industry, and then what led you to get into your captain's license?
I've been on the water my whole life. I mean, ever since I was a little kid,
Hmm.
been on a boat, right? And then probably at about the age of 14, I started working down at Captree on the Island Princess as a
Okay.
deckhand, and I did that pretty much through college. And I went to Maritime College and got my third mate's ticket.
Yep.
And from there, it was off to sea for about 3 years. It was good. And then I had an opportunity to come ashore. So I came ashore, worked in a brokerage shop. While I
Hmm.
was doing that on the weekends, I was running a guy's 60 footer out of Long Island here.
Yep.
Um, that was a really interesting experience. I look back
Why
on it.
is that?
I was probably 22. I had no clue what I was doing. uh,
Yeah.
Someone said, "Hey, can you run this guy's boat?" And I said, "Yeah, I can run that boat." I was cleaning it once a week, running it, and I look back, at the way that I prepare for a trip or even a day out on someone's boat now versus what I did then, and boy, I had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Um,
What do
and
you
then
think?
from there,
Like, what were
oop,
the differences now versus then?
oh my gosh, just checking the weather, checking the tides,
Hmm.
making a plan, having a backup plan. What way can I go if hey, we're going to take the ocean in the morning and we're going to come back, inside during the day or not? Little things like that. Calling ahead, making sure there's a dock slip. It was,
Hmm.
and the guy I was working for at that time he was really cool. He didn't, he kind of flew by the seat of his pants, and
You
so
guys
I
are
would
both
say,
on the same page.
yeah, yeah, some of it was luck,
Yeah.
but definitely, and so anyone, any of these younger captains now, like you got to make sure. And I tell them, like, guys, like, what do you got planned for the day? What's going on? And just kind of get in their head that that's what needs to be done.
Right. Right. Now,
So
when you kind of mentioned you went out to sea, and then you got an opportunity to come shoreside. I hear this a lot when guys go to the go to the maritime school, they get a job right out of college, and then the allurement of going to sea. It seems like, and I could be wrong here. It seems like it kind of wears out a little bit. When you're away from your family for months and months. Was that kind of the same vibe that I'm getting from you? As in this, you were just kind of tired of it, or was it like
uh,
time for a change?
a couple of things. I got out there. I upgraded my license really quick. I upgraded my
Hmm.
from the third mates to the second mates really quick because when you take the third mates test, it's actually the second mates. You just need sea time
Hmm.
to get that second mates ticket. Um, there was no second mate jobs around. So I
Oh, all
sailed for
right.
almost a year and a half as third mate, and I kept in touch with my relief. He sailed for another 5 years as third mate, and he
Hmm.
never actually sailed as second mate. He took his test, and he went right up to chief mate.
Yep.
Um, Living on Long Island, you see a lot of guys, Maine, Florida. You
Hmm.
don't see a lot of Long Islanders make a career out of it, and I wasn't willing to really leave Long Island. Not that you have to,
Hmm.
but I was kinda just looking for something a little bit more stable and,
Yeah,
something where I was home. And, yeah, if there was some I would have liked to have done it for a couple more years, but
yeah,
I definitely didn't wanna make a career out
right.
there.
Right. You know, it's funny, like you talk about, or I'm sure you kind of know this being in the Northeast is, people from Rhode Island and people from Long Island. They're like they're born here, they live here, and then they die here.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
they don't leave the island, even though
Yeah.
Rhode Island isn't really an island, but Long Island, right? Um, so you kind of move on to getting your moving out of the maritime industry and then back into something on the shore as at a brokerage selling boats. I'm assuming is that what you were doing?
Selling space on a ship. Yep.
Oh,
So,
selling space on a ship.
yep, we're
Okay.
still in the maritime field, and, yeah, it was interesting. That took us around the world. After a year there, they, felt
Mhm.
I needed to grow up a little bit, and so we had offices globally, and they sent me off to Singapore. That was supposed to be for
Really?
6 months and ended up being about 2.5 years.
Wow, what was that
So,
like?
that was a great experience. I met some great people, great friends, people who still keep in touch with,
Mhm.
and, my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, she came with me, and we traveled, we had fun. It was
Yeah.
really an incredible, incredible time.
Yeah, I bet. Now, why Singapore? Because obviously that area is very, there's a lot of maritime activity going on over there, but
Yeah, it's a
why?
global shipping hub.
Okay.
So there's just a major concentration of shipping companies there.
Right. And now when you say you're selling space on a ship, you're literally selling like a spot, like a container, a TEU,
I
a
worked in
space for a
chemicals, so
car.
I worked with, like, chemical tankers, so
Mhm.
say if, the plastics that made the microphone you were talking into, at some point, there was
Yeah.
chemical ship that made those plastics,
Right.
and so they just need to move between China, Houston, anywhere globally. Houston to
Mhm.
Antwerp, those are just a couple of the main routes that we'd
Mhm.
work with, but, yeah, and so you would just put together the producer and the ship owner and help them negotiate a deal and see it through.
Right. Now you brought up kind of an interesting point there is like the microphone that I'm talking into right now came on a ship. The earbuds that you have in your ears came on a ship.
Yeah,
The materials that made that jacket behind you came on a ship at some point, right?
exactly.
So the importance of the maritime community, I feel like kind of gets lost in translation a lot of the times, or it just doesn't see the light of day at all because people don't really understand how important it is for having guys at sea sailing and delivering goods and services up and down the coast and across the world and internationally. So can you kind of speak to that as to like your viewpoint in the importance of the maritime community, because it is kind of these untold stories and guys that you really don't hear about, but throughout the pandemic they were moving goods and fuel no matter what. They made sure that your orange juice ended up on your table in the morning. Like
Yeah.
all these things you
It's
don't even think about.
it's tough. It's a tough line of work. It's really hard, and I think people don't realize, like, how things get to I think it's 90% is done by sea, 90% of
Hmm.
the transportation. So you see the trucks on the highway, you see trains, but you have no idea, because how often do you see, I mean, in Rhode Island, you probably see it. If you come over the bridge here, the Robert Moses Bridge in Long Island, and on a clear day, you can see the ships in the shipping channel out there.
Right.
But most people don't see ships going in and out of a port. They have no
Hmm.
idea. Uh, People, that's how the world goes around.
Right.
And I feel for these guys who are on ships during this pandemic. There was a real hard time getting them on and off ships, and I think a big thing that people don't realize is the mental health of the person working on the ship.
Hmm.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you're a sailor. You get to work 4 months on, you get a couple months off, and you probably got all this money in your pocket." And that 4 months is long, man. That 4 months is really long. And when I've never sailed through a pandemic, obviously, but when you know, you have a crew change coming up, and let's say your crew change is in Singapore,
Hmm.
and you got to fly back to the United States. Well, what's going on now? They can't get the people off the ships
Right.
because they at the height of this, if you wanted to go into Singapore, it's a 2-week quarantine. So
Mm.
your crew change could have cost you a month. Think about it. You had to
Right.
quarantine somewhere for 2 weeks when you got off the ship, fly, quarantine somewhere else for another 2 weeks. There's a month of your vacation. So if you're 4 months on, 2 months off, you should
Yeah, you
half
already
your
lost a month.
yeah. And that was probably the best case from what I hear for some of these guys. I mean that's definitely somewhere I'm not dialed into too much, but it was really tough on a lot of these guys, and they had a hard time getting them back and forth.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what a, you're it's like you're on the ship, you wanna get home, and it's like one of those you're in that position where it's just get me home, please, you
You
know?
just check
And
out, man. Yeah, at some
you're
point
just like
you're like,
done.
you're just checked out. You know, you're like, especially if you know your relief, you're like, "Hey, did you get your flight? Did you get your flight?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
You're
Y
annoying them.
yeah, yeah, "We're gonna be at the dock on Thursday at, like, 8 AM. What do you think?" You know? And
Right.
that's, so, yeah.
Yeah. So after this transition into the brokerage, and at what point did you come back from Singapore and started into the next endeavor?
It's probably like 2012, I think. We were back, another 3 years doing the brokerage here stateside, and then it started a family. I just needed a switch in my career, and I
Mhm.
went into sales, and it just offered me a lot. Um, Going from brokerage into sales was interesting,
Mhm.
and I had a little bit more personal time than I did with the last job, and so I actually went back down to the fishing boats
Oh,
because
interesting.
I yeah, I wasn't used to I wasn't used to wrapping up work at 5 o'clock.
Right.
And yeah, and so I went back down to the fishing boats. I started working down there, and I was just exploring a couple different options at that point. I was getting
Yeah.
my feet wet in sales. I was doing the fishing boats at night. Like I said, I had a young kid. My wife was staying home, so I was trying to make some extra money.
Mhm.
And I started exploring from there, getting into a Chick-fil-A franchise.
I've what a world turn right there.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It was it was interesting. So I went through the process, and at that time I learned that one of the teachers I had in middle school,
Mhm.
that he actually had been through it, owned two of them, and so I talked to him for a little bit of guidance. And you know, they say everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So I'm chatting with him. I'm doing my sales job. I'm working on the fishing boat. I wasn't getting a lot of shifts on the fishing boat, just the way it
Mhm.
is. And so I'm chatting with him one day about the application. He says, "Man," he says, "I wish I never left Long Island." He was a Long Island guy, and he's telling me when he was younger, he said, "I had a boat cleaning business."
Yeah.
He said, "It was great. I wish I pursued it more." And a light went off in my head. I'm like, "I used to clean boats. I can clean boats. What
Right.
am I doing? You know, not sure if I'm going to work at night, or I could schedule some boats in the evening, get them clean. I could, you know." And so I told my wife this, and she said, "Why don't you get your license back and just run some boats too
Mhm.
on the weekend?" And I was like, "It's a good idea." So
Right, why not?
my license was in continuity at that point. I hadn't used it.
Mhm.
Um, so I got a 100-ton license and walked into a shop, said, "Hey, I'm going to be a delivery captain. Do you need a delivery captain? Someone to do lessons?" And they said, "Yeah, we do. Can you be here tomorrow morning?" "You bet." And just like that was 3 years ago, man, it took off. And I haven't
Yeah.
cleaned a boat, I'll tell you
Yeah, you haven't cleaned the boat. That's
that.
funny. I had a similar situation when I moved out to Hawaii, and I knew I was going to get a job, right? Because you're on an island. There's probably some boats out there. And, having my license, I kind of went out there, and the first thing I did was similar to you is I went to the local marine supply store with a 6 pack of like the local beer. I did a little research. I was like, what's the local beer here? And I plopped it on the front counter. And I'm like, so who needs some help around here? And they go, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I just got here. So whatever you got. And they pointed me to this guy named Bill. And, from that moment on, I started building my reputation in the industry. So in an industry where reputation is so, it's coveted, right? When you're known, you're known. And if you do a good job, that carries you through.
100%.
um, when you were first starting out, what was it like to kind of start building that repertoire up? And you walk into this place and they're like, yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. What were some of the things that you were doing to really start to kind of build that reputation and solidify yourself in Long Island? Or did you already kind of have a network because you grew up on the island?
No, I wouldn't say I had a network. I was definitely there was a learning curve, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, because it was something new. I've ran a boat my whole life. I've sailed on tankers. I ran that guy's 60-footer, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was doing now is connecting the experience. Someone just bought a boat, and this marina hired you to deliver that boat to them, to orient them with that boat, and get them familiar.
Right.
So it was kind of good, actually, being from having a background traveling globally and being in sales. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of learn to work with people from all walks, and how to
Right.
keep everyone happy.
Mm-hmm.
So someone might get their boat and everything might be perfect, but the boat might be a little bit dirty here, or something. Maybe something happens mechanically. It's a boat; they break. you know? And this is a thing that you try to get to people, you know, is that this is part of it, you know?
Right.
So you're hired to make that person's experience a good experience.
Mhm.
And there was definitely a learning curve the first few boats. I needed to learn the boats that I was delivering.
Mhm.
I
What
needed
were
a
you delivering
system,
at the time?
just smaller, like 30-foot Monterey's,
Okay.
some center consoles, nothing big. I really don't run anything big.
Mm.
Probably the biggest boat I'm running right now is a 50-footer.
Mhm.
Yeah. So mainly between that 30 and 50 foot, and deliveries and lessons, I mean, as small as 17 feet. Because you get a
Right.
lot of people in those smaller boats who just they want to learn how to use the boat. And
Mhm.
it's, you know, if you think about it, for a boat dealer to tie up one of their sales guys for an afternoon,
Mhm.
especially a weekend afternoon, or one of their mechanical guys, that's some big bucks.
Oh,
If you got a
yeah.
sales guy who's not on the floor because he's doing an orientation,
Right.
you could have just lost some sales. If you got a guy who's a mechanic, I think the rate here is 160 an hour.
Mhm.
So that guy could be working and making the marina money. So they hire out a captain.
Yeah.
And, you know, after about, I would say 4 boats, I got it dialed in.
Mhm.
So I made a little sheet that I had, and I just started from the bow, worked my way to the stern, took
Yep.
them through every single option. Obviously, the biggest thing is safety on a boat, and people just have no idea. I mean, you're out in the middle of the water. You are that's it, you know?
Yeah.
You're the EMT, you're the firefighter, you're the communications, you know, you gotta have eyes in the back of your head, and,
Yep.
you gotta assume that the guy over there on that other boat has had a few drinks and he's not paying attention,
Right.
you know? And I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing I stress to people on the water, experienced or not, is you gotta be safe, you gotta be aware, and you have to expect the unexpected.
Mhm. Yeah, I taught boating, and I still kind of do not as frequently as I used to, but I always kind of looked at, your boat is your own ecosystem, right? So, like you
I
said,
like that.
it's you're the fireman, you're the coxswain, you're the guy that ties the line, you're the deckhand, you're everything, right? And as the captain of that boat, whether it's 15 feet or 300 feet, you got to know what everyone's job is, and you kind of have to delegate a little bit. Like if it's you and your wife on the boat, you're like, honey, all right, you're going to be my deckhand today, right? And you kind of work with that. But it was always, whenever a boat's, whether they're underway and coming towards you, you're always worried about that boat and what they're going to do, and you have to
For sure.
anticipate that. So
Yeah. I do a
yeah,
lot of lessons, and I always encourage people, who I'm giving the lesson to,
mhm,
who are you gonna be boating with the most? Okay, so if it's a couple, I said, I think it's better if both of you are there.
right.
Let's learn how to set the anchor. Let's learn how to get a line off to the dock. Let's learn how to
Mhm.
cast off, get away from the dock. I mean, this way, if you wanna yell at each other, you can yell at me, and I'll be the middleman. But and I just stress,
Yeah.
like, just staying calm, you know? You
Yep.
gotta stay calm, stay cool, and,
Yep.
hey, if you miss the dock, you miss the dock. You go
Not a
around,
big deal.
take your time, and you only go as fast as you want to hit something. Everyone laughs
Right.
at that one, but it's the truth,
Yeah.
man. If you just take your time and don't go nuts, you could always fend off. And truth is, like today, like everyone's like, oh, camera, and you think people are going to tape
Mhm.
you. If I see someone in a jam, man, I run over there and try to give them a hand.
Right.
We all been there, and I think
Mhm.
more people need to do that. People do a pretty good job of that, I think, in the marinas. But
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of people who are new to boating. Everyone started boating somewhere,
Yep.
so
Absolutely.
yeah,
And it's funny, like, it's hard to get that across to people, and they look at guys like you and I, and they're like, "Well, how did you do that so perfectly?" Well, it's like, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like I
yeah,
grew up. I started out with a little tiller drive dinghy,
yeah,
and then now I'm driving your boat, right? Like
yeah.
it's just repetition after repetition after
I
repetition.
always ask them what they do for work because they
Mhm.
got to do something right if they're affording a boat and affording a captain. And,
I like
and I
that.
say, you probably do that a lot better than I ever could, and
Right.
then you just kind of got to put it in perspective for them. That
Yeah.
it just takes time, and they didn't come out and they were awesome at it. It took them years to hone their craft.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's a great way to put it is honing your craft. Like reps behind the wheel, time spent on the boat, time spent on
mhm,
the water, and just knowing, tides and currents and wind and wave action and
yeah,
how it all reacts to the boat and how you're going to react to it. Like I can't tell you how many times I've come into a dock and, all of a sudden the crosswind kicks up and you're like, "Ah, great." And then you're getting blown away, right? And the key is not to panic. It's not to think of, oh, well, what if? It's just to do what you can at that moment and react to it. And if you have to come out of the dock and reset, then do it. Then reset. Like it's not a big
Yeah.
deal, you know?
I always tell people when they start, they get to feel that wind and they're like, "Oh, man." I'm like, "You gotta make the wind your friend." I was
Yeah.
like, "There's no other way." I equate the wind to that one family member who always comes on the holidays. They
Yep.
drink your booze, they eat your food, they lay on your couch. You can never get rid of them. You
Right.
know, and that's it. You got to deal with them. You got to deal with the wind when you're on the boat. You got to deal with the tide. You look at it and you say, "How do I make this help me? How do I
Right.
make it my friend?" That's it.
Right.
If you start getting flustered and you start losing your cool, you know, you just I can't stress it enough, man. Just keep
Yeah.
it cool. You miss a
Yep.
slip, you miss a slip. It's all right.
Right. As long as
So
you don't smash into anyone else's $1,000,000
100%.
yacht.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That little caveat in there.
Yeah, there's always
Uh,
a little caveat.
yeah,
But
of
so,
course.
you're kind of moving through this process of, getting up to what would then become the idea of the Captain app, and all of a sudden you're working in the water, you're back at it again, you're a captain. How did this idea of connecting other captains with people, and doing exactly what you're doing now, how did that kind of come to fruition? And then at what point were you executing on that and really going for it and creating this platform?
I saw it when in the first year that so
Mhm.
again, 'cause I just finished my third season. We're going on season 4 here doing this. I saw it in the first year. I saw people, when you said, "Oh, we hired a captain for you," and they're on a small boat. They say,
Mhm.
"I can get a captain."
Yeah.
People, I don't know why I just saw like a misconception that they couldn't have a captain on a small boat, and so I ran a couple charters, and people were like, "This is great." When I say
Mhm.
charter, I mean I ran their boat for them so they could just enjoy the day.
Right.
Um, and people were just, you saw the light go off in their head. What
Mhm.
was happening, I was getting double booked on the weekends,
Mhm.
and I was, how do I get this to where other captains can get to work?
Right.
That's really it. I mean, for the guys who want to work, I want to find a way to help get them to work.
Mhm.
And there's opportunities out there. And maybe everyone doesn't have the background that I'm lucky enough to have, where I have the sales, I have the dealing with people, I have just so much. I feel like, and when you're your own business, you're the finance team, you're the
You are
marketing
it,
team, you are,
and
you're
no one's coming.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you gotta figure it out, and so maybe some people aren't as great as marketing themselves, but maybe they're fantastic captains, you
Mhm.
know? Down by us, we have Fire Island, so Long Island. I live on the South Shore of Long Island, and Fire
Okay.
Island's a barrier island across the bay, and there's a lot of bars, restaurants, and so the people, like, where I really see the Captain app being used for some of these guys is people wanna run across there with their friends, they wanna have a good night, they wanna have some drinks, they don't wanna run the boat, or maybe
Right.
scared to run the boat at night because 'cause they're just not used to it.
Mhm.
Anything like that, right? Hop on there. They're gonna spend a couple $100 going out to dinner, running the boat. They're hire a captain.
Right.
Get home safe. What's the big deal, right?
Mhm.
And you tell them, people like, wow, that's one of the most popular trips we've had so far. It's
Right.
just people wanting to go out to dinner, wanting to go for an evening cruise, and wanting to entertain their friends.
Mhm.
That's the other thing that people don't get when they're running a boat. They just get a boat and they're like, this is a lot of work.
Mm.
It's a lot of work to run the boat. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work to pay attention, see where you're going, what's going on, keeping track of everyone else. And you know how it goes. All your friends have a couple drinks in you, and next thing you know, they're getting wild, and you're sitting there steering.
Right. Yep.
It's
Yeah. Well,
so
it's funny. There is a misconception when you buy a boat that all of a sudden nothing matters, right? Oh,
mhm,
there's no rules, there's no law. It's just, oh, we
you're
just go
right.
out there and float around. And you and I both know that's far from the truth, right? And then
Yeah,
not only that, but when you do break down or if something does bad happen, like you're in the middle of the ocean or you're in the middle of a bay. You
yeah,
can't just step out and go to shore. So having that person on the boat that knows what they're doing and that can take you home, and it's kind of like your rent a bus driver, right?
yeah.
For your own personal boat. It's
And
a it's
and you're
Yeah, go
right.
ahead.
Like,
It's
there's
a
a
great
whole
idea.
slew of things why people would. I get hired a lot to just transport boats back and forth from
Mhm.
out east to back where I live, right? And there's some parts of if you're running the boat inside, there's some parts of the bay people don't want to cross if they haven't been through there.
Right.
The change is rapid. You're running through 2 or 3 feet of water,
Yeah.
and that makes people uncomfortable. So that's another spot where people they want to take a trip. They're not comfortable taking that trip. They want to make a run somewhere, do something fun, exciting with their family. Hire a captain to get you through those parts you're not comfortable with.
Mhm.
Now
Right.
because you look at it one way, oh, I gotta pay for something else. Not the way to look at something when you have a boat.
Mhm.
You have a boat,
Definitely not.
you're gonna spend money. Yep, that's 100%. But if you take that chance, you're not comfortable, you run the boat aground, your wife has a bad experience, your kids have a bad experience, the boat's broken, your vacation's ruined. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen with someone else aboard, but
Mhm.
your chances are much greater at succeeding
Right.
at what you want to do. And people just you can kind of relax a little bit and learn. I've had a lot of people where they want you to come for the run out, and they'll make the
Mhm.
run back themselves. And I tell people like, look, I'm not here to lay a course line for you on your GPS, track
Right.
line. You pay attention and see and listen to what I'm telling you, it's going to make sense. And there's some people, I get a lot of guys who really do want to learn,
Mhm.
and that's nice. And they ask the right questions when you're going, and it's good to see.
Yeah, now are a lot of these when you're going out, do they become lessons inadvertently? Because I've done it where you take someone out for a charter and then all of a sudden they want to kind of pick your brain a little bit. Like, how do you delineate that? Because I'm always the type of guy where I just like to share. Like I just like
Yeah,
educating. So if someone asks me a question, I'd be like, "Sure, come on up here. You want to take the wheel?" Like that's just me.
yeah.
Or is this? But then at some point that becomes kind of detrimental to the sale or the work of the captain, right? Because if you're teaching this person, that's a totally different price point than whether you're gonna just take them from A to B, right?
It really depends on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing transport, A to B,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I like to get it there as quickly and safely as possible so you can get on to the next one.
Right.
Um, I tell people, like, I got some people, oh, well, I want you for the day. I want to learn a little bit, but I want to bring my friends. I want to cruise. I
Mm-hmm.
want to, and I'm just honest with them. I said, you know what? If you want to meet me at the boat a little bit early, we could do a lesson. But
Mm-hmm.
if you got your friends on, you got 10 people on the boat, it's going to be really tough to teach you and learn, especially if you're drinking,
Right.
which most people are in that case.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to separate the two. I don't mind sharing. I enjoy sharing,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And a lot of the times, if I'm running the boat for someone, you'll find like their guests have a lot of questions. Hey, what are you doing
Right.
with that? Why are you doing that? And that's fine. I enjoy sharing it and telling them why and what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. I just, over time, you get more comfortable with how to deal with people and see what they're looking to get out of the experience.
Right.
If they say, hey, we're going to do a lesson and go out for the day, I can tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, you might not want to hear my answer,
Right.
but I'm comfortable enough to share it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I
No.
think that's a big thing, is that people need to be comfortable telling the owner, hey, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And some people get a little bit uncomfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of creating this platform. What has gone into like the logistical side of you actually building the platform out for guys like me to then sign up and get work, right? I mean, there's this whole, we could talk about the nuts and bolts of running a boat all day, right? But then there's this whole side of it is like, well, how do you connect these guys? Like, what was your point at, it was like, all right, I have this idea, but how do I put it into practice?
Countless hours. Countless hours, man. It's been a learning experience the whole way. When you think you got something dialed in, you figure out that you don't.
Hmm.
And when you think something's going to work, or I thought I was going to walk around, hand out some cards, and people are like, "That's a great idea," and it was just
Yeah,
going to catch
right.
on. Yeah, nice try. Um, so
Wishful thinking.
yeah, um, and it was an evolution. At first I saw that, and you'll see. Do you do your own social media?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work,
It's a
you
lot of
know?
work.
It's a lot of work. So, at one point, I said, "All right, I wasn't being consistent with my social media." So I hired someone to do the social media. It was great.
Hmm.
That person did a fantastic job, but it didn't create any conversions.
Mm.
That was the okay, so we adjust. What do we do? It got to the point where I have a guy doing marketing for me now, and
Hmm.
he is incredible, and it's creating conversions. And so I
Mm.
think it's just little, it takes time. You said, geez, I wish I would have known this 3 years ago.
Right.
But you learn the lessons along the way of what it takes to build something and see which way it goes
Hmm.
and what really gets results and what doesn't get results. But the one thing that's always consistent is you get out of it what you put into it.
Hmm.
So there's times where, I've gotten discouraged. I'm like, oh. this isn't going to work. And I've
Yeah.
listened to a few of your podcasts. I might have heard that theme with a couple other people, or
Yep,
you
of
know.
course.
And I think anything you listen to is someone who's trying to create something that happens.
Mhm.
Um, you do. You got to just keep on grinding, keep on grinding, and just keep on putting in the time. There's a
Mhm.
lot of nights spent out in my office out here, till late hours, just pumping away on the keyboard with no results.
Right.
And you
I
just
know
have to
that
show
feeling.
up. Yeah, yeah, man. It's brutal.
Yeah.
You feel defeated, and just when you get a win, all of a sudden something else comes up and just
Mhm.
knocks you back on your butt. So
Right.
that's the hardest thing. Telling the story, having guys understand how it works, and if I get someone's ear for 2 minutes, they're usually sold on it.
Mhm.
And so that's the other thing. I think you just got to constantly be talking about it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Even if that person isn't going to use it, this is what I'm doing. Because all of a sudden,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? My buddy's a captain. Let me give you, and
Yeah.
and that's to the extent that I go like signing up. I've got about 110 captains listed up and down the coast right now.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's quite a few.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And but it's to the like if someone said, "Here's my buddy's number. He's the captain." Like I will call that guy and just tell him, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? You want to sign
Right.
up?" You have nothing as a captain. You have nothing to lose to sign up. If you don't,
Right.
if the job doesn't match up with your day, you're busy that day. You ignore the email.
Yeah.
That's it. Doesn't cost you a thing.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
key here is that it's not going to be the people who have regular captains who are going to be hiring captains off of here. Maybe they will, but mainly I see it's the people who want lessons. It's the people who want transport. It's
Mhm.
the people who want that one off. They run their own boats, but they might like a night off. They might want to surprise their friends. Hey guys, guess what? I hired a
Mhm.
captain for us tonight. We're going to, and it's got a certain. You what? Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
right.
Let's go and
Right.
have a great time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. You know, and so it's kind of a treat. So
Yeah.
will they be repeat customers? I'm sure. Like you'll get people like that 2 or 3 times a season, and they come back. So it's
Was
working.
there like a challenge because you talk about, being in your office, banging away. Were you the one creating this platform, or were you, like, getting help from other people, or how is this all kinda
I
coming
am
together?
not a technology guy.
Okay.
Yeah, no way, man. I had one of my good buddies. He's a technology guy, and so
Yep.
he built the platform for me.
Okay. And then, like, you mentioned challenges, and everyone has one, right? We
Sure.
all kind of go through them. What was one that kind of stuck out to you that was like, all right, well, maybe I'm going to wave the white flag on this one, but then you push through and you kind of saw it to the end. And now, obviously, you got 110 guys up and down the coast. So you're doing something right. So, was there something that really stuck out to you?
Getting the owners to sign up
Hmm.
was is harder than getting the captain.
Why do you think
Tell them,
that is?
I honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I think people will go onto Google, type in how to hire a captain, and they'll come up whatever comes in that first six. So just being out there and being in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you the difference that I'm seeing with solid marketing. It's a no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I have had results from handing out my card to people. The problem is if you build that relationship, if you deliver somebody's boat, they want, hey, you know what? I want Captain John.
Right.
Oh, you're not available? Okay, can we do it next weekend? And that's fine. I love the work. I never
Yeah.
turn work down. But the goal here is to put other guys to work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that was the biggest thing, was just getting that first trip. And then you get that first trip and something goes wrong on the website, because a
Yeah.
website is like a boat, especially one that moves like this. Because the way it works is that if you were a boat owner, you would sign up,
Mhm.
you'd make your request. Hey, I want to go out to dinner tonight. You put in your time that you want to leave, rough time you want to come back, what you want to do. That goes out to the captains that are closest to your area where you're leaving
Okay.
from. They could look at it, they could say, and they don't have to do a thing if they don't want to work on it, or they could put a bid in. Hey, so maybe let's say three captains come back.
Right.
The owner could look at them, look at their experience, and he gets to pick which captain he wants. Boom.
Hmm.
So he books Captain John. Okay, there we go. It's
Interesting.
an Yeah, it is. It really so. But the point is, there's a lot of moving parts,
Mhm.
back and forth, and so that's another area where it's like you get a little, like I said, you take a step forward, then you're two steps back. You get a little bit of success,
Mhm.
boom, knocks you back on your butt. And the changes that you make to the website, you update the website, all of a sudden, another trip comes and something. So, you just
Something doesn't
kind of
quite
got to,
line up. Yeah.
yeah, you got to keep on grinding, man. It's
Yeah.
really, those are some of the biggest challenges I think, is that because you feel great, you're like, all right, I got to win, and and then you're like, oh man, how am I going to get through this part now?
Right, right,
So
and not only that, but, like, you get a win, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if I feel this way sometimes, is you get a win, and then you're like, "Alright, well, that was fun for, like, 5 minutes," and then you're like, "Well, where's the next one?" And it
yeah,
becomes like this little addiction. Um,
I got
what are
one.
some
Why
of
can't I get five in a
e
day?
e
Right? That's how I look at
exactly,
it.
exactly, and then you get 5, and they're like, "Why can't I get 10?" It's
And
just
why stop there?
why stop there, right? What has there been some of the success stories of captains using it, getting jobs, and then being like, "All right, man, this is a no brainer. Like, why didn't this exist 10 years ago?"
I'm not up to that point yet, but
Hmm.
I do have a couple guys. Like right now, I'm pushing hard in Florida. Obviously,
Right.
I got a bunch of guys listed down there, and it's there's no shortage of captains down there. That's for sure.
Hmm.
The quality of them, it can you can hear some stories,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing that the site allows you to do, is that the owner can rate the captain. So if
Right.
you go to book a captain, you could see what kind of a background they have. This guy, he doesn't. And I use an anchor system instead of stars, so they get
Hmm.
5 anchors. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you can kinda get a feel. And if I tell the captains there's a spot for them to write about themselves.
Hmm.
So maybe one guy might be, hey, I'm really only into fishing. I'm not a teacher. So if you're looking for someone to give you lessons, that's not the guy you're going to book.
Right.
But you get a guy down there who's he's a veteran. He's a Coast Guard veteran. He's got 20 years on the boat. He's,
Hmm.
got all his right qualifications, and you see it in his profile. That guy's got the heart of a teacher, right? And I'm
Right.
just using that as an example. I'm not saying anything leads up to that, but some people have that the patience to teach, and other people don't. Some people just love to fish, and
Sure.
other guys just want to run charters and cruise.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Kind of like, what are some of the characteristics that you find? Because you mentioned two very distinct types of people there, right?
Hmm.
I think I really enjoy the teaching part, but talking like going fishing. I love to fish, but fishing's like my thing. That's like my time to go out and do my own thing.
Yeah,
Um, so what do you think are some of the characteristics that really kind of make a good captain and a good candidate for, the Captain app?
you got to be a chameleon.
Yep.
You do. You got to be a chameleon in the sense that you have to adjust to who you're working with.
Mhm.
You have to adjust and see how they learn, what they want. Um, that's the biggest thing, I think, is that you have to be able to adjust on the fly and learn what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
I delivered a boat last year. It was a pure chaos. It was a small boat. It's 22 feet. This family was screaming at each other, cursing at
Really?
each other. Oh my god! I was like, "You guys!" I stopped the boat. I said, "You guys got to calm down. Everyone's got to. This is how we talk to each other."
Are they Italian?
Oh yeah, yep, yep. I can only imagine what Sunday dinner is like over there. But and that's how it went for the rest of the day. I wasn't happy about it. I didn't enjoy it. I
Yeah.
did my job. I got them to learn how to dock their boat.
Yep.
I couldn't wait to get off that boat.
Yeah.
And so that's
Mhm.
you can't lose your cool. You just got to kind of keep your cool. You got to, as long as everything's safe, you just kind of move forward. So
Right.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things, is that, if you're taking someone's family out and, they got kids, you gotta work with the kids. You got to make sure
Mhm.
that, you're there to run the boat, keep everyone safe, but you're kind of a host in the sense that you're making sure everyone has a good time.
Yeah. That's a really great point because whenever I was out on the boat teaching people or
Hmm.
even doing a delivery, you really are, as much as you are a captain, I would say I'm in the entertainment business,
Yeah.
and when I was out in Hawaii running boats and doing charters, it's not running the boat that's the most important part. I mean, granted, obviously safety is always at,
Yep.
the paramount, but you know, unless you can really entertain your customer or your clientele, they're not going to come back, right? And then
No.
you're not going to even be able to run the boat. So, as much as you are, concerned about safety and, the logistics of the boat and everything, you really are an entertainer, and you have to be able
100%.
to have this communication with the customer that wants them to come back, but also, you can build a relationship with. And I think that's so important is, I've worked in sales too. So having that sales background is really being able to connect with people and talk with people.
You got to learn your customer and learn your customer quick, for
Hmm.
sure, and understand what they want. Some people will look at it, and I got one guy who's like, "How come we're going so slow?"
Hmm.
He wants you to run the it open. And you got
Right.
other customers. If that was me, if that was my boat, I'd be like, "What's this captain doing, beating the crap out of my boat?"
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
um, you just got to learn what your customer wants. You
Yeah.
know, I've had one captain where the customer said to me, "Hey, this guy, he's not for us."
Mm.
Okay. And I said, all right. I tell like my customers from just the customers that I handle on my own, not in the app.
Right.
If that comes to a point where like one of my guys is running a boat for him and hey, he's not for us. I don't need to know why.
Mm.
That's fine. He's not for you. Don't worry, you won't have him back.
Right.
If they want to share with me why, that's fine. I had
Yep.
one the family said, hey, the experience wasn't about like the family that day. It was just kind of like, oh, let's run the boat and get it to where it's got to go.
Yeah.
I'm not about that, man.
Mhm.
If the family's on board and everyone's having a good time, that's the way it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, as much as it is a job, right? It's something that you got to love and you got to really enjoy being out on the water.
Sure.
It's very rare to find guy. I mean, I'm sure there's always going to be guys out there that are, just there for being able to run the boat and make some quick cash, but for me at least, and I think you're kind of the same way, is you got to enjoy the ocean. You got to be enjoying, being out on the water and catching fish and into conservation and into talking with people and building relationships and kind of sharing, your love for the water. Because a lot of the times these people that come out on the boat or just buy a boat, they have no idea what it's like out there, right?
Yeah.
They have no idea how important a striped bass is, right? And why we should, keep them
Why there's a
around.
slot fish.
Right, exactly, and the importance of, the wind and the tide and the current, not only from the perspective of you running your boat, but, I guess you can kinda get a little bit spiritual about it, and say, like, this is, this is my connection to the earth and to the water, right?
I had a customer, one of their guests threw a cup overboard. I shut the boat down, turned it around. What are you doing? I said, you're going back to pick up that cup. What do you mean? What are you doing, man? You're in my backyard. You're not throwing that in
Yeah,
the water.
yep,
Or why are we stopping to pick up a balloon?
yep,
Why not? I mean, when I take my kids to the beach, I always tell them you leave with a little bit more than what you came with, in the
mhm,
sense that you pick up, unfortunately, after all the other slobs out there.
yep,
But I think what you were just talking about, though, is a good point because just because you might be a captain and you're not an entertainer, hey, that's the
mhm,
perfect guy who's a transport captain.
right,
He's good at what he does, he gets it on time, A to B, safely, and the boat's in 100% shape. That's
mhm,
fine. I got a couple guys like that who said, "Hey, you know what, John? I'll do transport. I don't want to do lessons. I don't want to do." That's perfect because when the job request comes out, they're not going to be filtered out, but they're going to say, "Hey, that one's a transport job. All right, I'm going to bid on that." Or, "Hey, this
right,
family day out. I'm not going to bid on that. I don't want to do it."
mhm,
And that's the beauty of it, really. I mean, I don't know how many days a week you're working up there in the summer, but there's
mhm,
a couple guys out here, think, you know what, I want to fill that fifth or sixth day of my week. Sure,
right.
there you go. You just filled a day, made a great day's pay on the water, on someone else's boat, having a good time.
You really can't beat it. It's the best
Nah,
boat is someone else's boat. That's what I
that's
always
that. Yep.
say.
Someone always, John, what's your favorite boat? Someone else's.
Someone else's boat
That's it,
because
man.
it's not your gas, it's not your boat. Something breaks and you didn't do it, it's probably
Yeah.
their problem.
Everything breaks, man,
Yeah.
at some point or another. So
It's a
that's
boat, right?
that's for sure. Yep.
But
Uh,
so John, where can kind of as we kind of bring the ship into port, where does the future lie for the Captain app? Like where do you kind of see this going? Do you see this nationwide, East Coast? I mean, obviously you kind of want to have as many people on there, but you want to have quality candidates, right? You want to have
for sure.
quality customers. You want to have a reputation out there similar to the reputation that you've built on Long Island, just in your own little niche and community. So how are you doing that with the Captain app and where do you kind of see this taking you?
Well, I mean, I'm going with the two spots I sort of know right here, and that's the Northeast and
Mhm.
Florida. There's definitely a big demand for it. We're going to work our way down the coast, and definitely a nationwide thing. I'm not too eager to push that expansion just yet, only because, like I said, there's certain challenges I want to iron out.
Mhm.
And just like the name of it, the Captain app, I would like to get it into an actual app right now it's just a mobile friendly web application.
Yep.
Um, Everything, as we know, costs dollars to get there,
All
and
in good time, right?
that's it. And so I would say that we're kind of on the tail end of proving what we thought would work is working,
Mhm.
and from there we're just going to continue to expand, captain by captain, customer by customer.
Right.
So it's not easy. And then after that, really from these day trips, I think the next obvious spot for it is going to be permanent placements.
Mm.
So I've had a few requests for permanent placements. So that's kind of an area that I'm working on there for people to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's cool to see that you're getting already requests for things. That's kind of know when that's when you know people they want more, right? And
Yeah.
that's always a good sign. So then where can people find out about the Captain app and learn more about you and what you got going on and if they want to rent a captain, how can they do it?
Oh man, thecaptapp.com.
Okay.
CAPP, thecaptapp.com. Um, we have a Instagram, the Capt App, and Facebook, the Capt App. And yeah, I mean, hey, my phone number's on there. I always tell people, you want to ask something, you want to call me. That's
Yeah.
it. You can get it. I'm happy to share it with you. So,
Awesome.
any captains out there looking for a little bit of extra work or just to see what's going on, like I said, it doesn't cost you a thing to sign up for. You know, that's really, you just put your info in and you'll start receiving updates.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in Narragansett Bay, I'll be on the app. So
There you go,
yeah.
Captain Zach, man.
That's right. Well,
So
cool, man. Well, it was
awesome.
great having you on the show. It was awesome being able to learn all about you, John, your background, as well as the background of how the Captain app started. So thanks again for being on.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you for having me. Thanks for doing the podcast. It's great.
Thanks. Yeah. All right, John.
Catch you later.
Sweet. No, if you want to, I mean, you got a
Oh, that's
minute?
it. Yeah.